Okay, well, just for okay, let's, what is it? What does Bancroft do to get people's attention?
Show 5.
Show 5? Okay. My son was in a class where it was hey, hey, hollyhock. I loved yelling hey, hey, hollyhock because it was just fun. Welcome everybody to today's PTO meeting. It looks like, oh, we've got some folks jumping on online. Excellent. Good to see everyone. Hey, Gina. Tana, can you give me a thumbs up if you're going to be taking notes? And we've got a lot of people in the room. Super excited to have this many folks with us at PTO today. So we're going to start with introductions. We've got a lot on the agenda today, so I won't do anything fancy in terms of icebreakers, but just name, if you have a role on the PTO board, and for those of you who were uncertain last week, that means if you chair a committee or hold an elected position, you're on the board. So if you hold a role on the board, please include that. And then we typically say the grade of the child that we have to ensure that everyone present is a PTO caregiver or a child caregiver, which gives you voting rights at PTO. So I will start. I'm Shauna Cox. I'm one of the co-presidents this year. And my kiddo is in 3rd grade. And I will pass the ball to my co-president, Fauna.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Sana. I use she, they pronouns. I have my child is in the 3rd grade, actually, with Shauna's child in the classroom.
Yeah. All right.
I'm Peter Maxwell. I'm the physical education teacher here at Bancroft. People asked me to show up for this little cycling bit that you were doing.
Awesome. Thank you.
My name is Daquila, and my child is in kindergarten.
Awesome. Welcome.
My name is Marcus. I am
Ms. Hartman is back.
Hi, I'm Ms. Hartman, and I teach the advanced learners and also a couple of sections in telescope. Also.
I'm Ben. I have a kid in high 5.
I'm Katie.
I'm Liz Thompson. I have 2 5th graders, and I'm the PTO treasurer.
Peter Thompson, everything except the treasurer part. Eric, I have a 1st grader and PTO at large.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Kate Elwell. I use she, her pronouns. I have a 2nd grader and a high 5er, and I do safe routes to school.
Hey, I'm Joanne Brockington. I also use she, her pronouns. I have 2 2nd graders, and I typically help out with the bingo event.
It's such a nice opportunity to see you in person, Joy.
Right, the face to the name.
Right? I was like, I feel like lots of things.
I know. I have really struggled over last year to get to PTO meetings,
Welcome.
so I'm here to help when I can.
Awesome.
I'm Mel Forsty. I have a 1st grader, and I'm an at-large member.
Yeah, please. We failed to add Mel to the at-large, so.
It's all good. Is there a sheet?
Yeah, there's a sign-in sheet, and there's name tags, but on the back of the agenda, you'll also find this year's PTO board, and we failed to add Mel as an at-large member.
Yeah, she, her, I don't know, they're the 4th grader, and I think I would have been made the chair of the flag. I'm happy with it.
I'm Peter Caldwell. I have a 5th grader and a 2nd grader.
I'll go back this way. I'm Robin Anderson. I'm vice president of the PTO, and I have a 5th grader and a 3rd grader.
I'm Mandy Stein. I'm the readathon and book fair chair, and I have a 4th grader.
Melissa Hanson. I'm an at-large member, and I have a 3rd grader.
Right?
Hi, Christy Kennedy. I'm the assistant principal here.
I'm Diego DePaz, and I'm the principal at Bancroft, so welcome.
I'm V. Paul, and I have a 4th grader.
People on Zoom? People on Zoom. I'll call because it's awkward. Gina, can you unmute?
Yeah, can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Great. Hi, everybody. I'm Gina Del Corazon. My pronouns are they, them. I share the third grader Sana mentioned. I am married to Sana.
Zach?
Yeah, hi, my name is Zach Moore. I have a kindergartner.
Katie? Tana? We'll wait for Katie to your audio.
Hi, I'm Tana. I have a first
Anna,
grader.
goodness, we're gonna get it by the end.
It's fine. You.
I swear.
It's a lifelong struggle. I also have a fourth grader.
Go back to Katie. All right. Well, Katie, welcome as well. Hopefully you can hear us. Thank you everyone for being here. This is a wonderful turnout. One of the changes that you might have noticed is that we have elected to go without the PowerPoint slide deck agenda in hopes of the folks who are on Zoom being able to see the room just a little bit better, and also give people a takeaway with the main notes and something you can scribble on. We will kill a few trees. Please let us know, yay or nay, if that works for you. I am definitely not a person who usually puts words up on a PowerPoint, so it's tricky for me. Our first agenda item is the Cataract Lodge folks have a long history, I think, of supporting the field trip fund for Bancroft, and I am gonna run downstairs and see if Bob's maybe locked out.
Okay.
And
I can do that if you want.
okay.
I left the door open too.
Oh,
and
did you?
I told Nancy to let any visitors in, so
Okay.
Okay.
I'm imagining that he's not here.
Oh,
Okay.
sounds good.
If you
Then.
want to check, so you can, but.
Whenever Bob comes, we'll let Bob,
Yeah.
who's donating money, talk. Whenever he arrives.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's me, my turn. Okay, so I do want to say we are experimenting with, VPAW did a great job running meetings last year and leading, and so we're just going to change as much as we can up just to make you feel excited and on the seat of your anyway. So that's why if it's better to do PowerPoints, we'll go back to that. But I really like agendas, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. What we want to start with was talking about the mission of the PTO, just to clarify before we kind of go into talking about priorities and funding. And so I just grabbed this supporting the education of children at Bancroft Elementary by fostering relationships among the school, parents, teachers, and community. And I know last year there was discussion about priorities, and I thought it would be worthwhile, since we didn't really talk about it the first meeting, thinking about what folks, families think are the priorities for this year for Bancroft.
And I will add that we didn't make that mission up. That comes straight out of the bylaws. And you're going to hear a lot about the bylaws today, because Sana and I are write it down rule people, and discovered the bylaws are a little out of date.
Yeah, they're from 2015 and we don't really follow them. So I know there was a lively discussion last year about priorities, and I'm just curious if folks have ideas or thoughts. I will say I had a parent who unfortunately wasn't able to come today, send us a long email really expressing a desire for the PTO to be reaching out and engage more families of color, and programming that that makes sure that families that have different abilities can participate in sensory issues. So I just want to mention that they want more programming that because we have classrooms right here that children that have sensory issues. Is that correct? No?
I guess.
Okay.
I guess I'm not really following the question or the.
Oh.
Are we talking about our autism program?
Yes.
Okay.
So just that we make sure we have programming that addresses the needs of all families in the school.
And I will say it's a good point. I love the programming. They work really well for my family, but they're all very loud and very chaotic. And I mean, not all, that's not fair, but the ones that I remember that stand out to me are the whole school together, kids running around, and that's awesome. But it's a great point. How can we think about just in different ways? to engage families that feels really supportive for the kids that don't thrive in that environment.
Okay.
I will also acknowledge that not everybody likes to speak up and or raise their hand in a setting like this. So I'm gonna pass Post-it notes around. If you want to grab a Post-it note and write down a thought of like a priority or anything, we'll gather them real quick up on the board. Here's some pencils. If you don't want to post a note, please feel free to shove it all on down the way. And
So, is anyone else? Because we have plenty to cover. Just to keep that in mind, we can come back to that. There is going to be like an open forum. So if you're like, oh yes, this is something that I've been thinking about, you'll have a chance at the end to express that. So one of the things that we have realized is that the bylaws don't necessarily reflect how the PTO is run, and because I'm new to the school and PTO, we thought it would be important to like document. And the reason why we're thinking about this is that this is a volunteer organization, and it's important that anybody participate know exactly how we're run, and that our bylaws should reflect how we're run. It helps people to feel like they know what's going on, they know what the PTO is, they know how money is raised, they know how money is dealt with, they know how decisions are made. And so I felt like money was the first thing that, instead of, because we were going to attack the whole thing, it's too much. We decided to just attack the finance. So there's a piece of paper that looks, the bylaws that we currently have on the top, and then the suggested addition. So it used to have a suggestion.
Sorry, we can't hear the room anymore.
Yeah, I lost connection there too. And
There's
I think it's just
there's a second Bancroft PTO account that looks like it's logged in, but then got muted.
I see. And I'm just, interesting.
I wish I could read lips better.
you want to
Mic check, mic check.
No, he's gonna be on. Oh, they
Do
can
you hear?
Yep.
Yeah, we hear now.
Sorry, what had occurred was the Wi-Fi in the building booted the device off, but we should be back.
Got it. Thank you.
And you have the link, you can open the document. You should be able to see the link for the policy. So if you want to just look at it, I mean, the main difference is just to give us more concrete steps around budgeting for the year. We've missed, like, this says September 1st to propose a budget, and who proposes the budget. And so right now, like, generally, the funding that is kind of up in the air is when we have requests from teachers or staff. And so, because they can request money for different activities, events, projects. And so we wanted to put a little bit more structure on that, because they typically go online and make requests, and then the board votes on it. But it's not clear when the board votes on it versus the vote comes to the whole council. So I wanted to, and this is up for discussion and edit. This is a draft of what I imagine. And so if there are people that have like suggestions, like, no, I put a 250 amount, because I looked up literally like 10 different PTO things, and that was the best practice around that much, around how much should be voted by the board versus the general PTO membership. And I just wanted to, be clear that whatever we're funding is in the service of the mission of the PTO. And I pretty much kept what the language we have, that we have. I've kept the stuff, I just added a couple of things. So, any comments?
Hi, it's Melissa again.
Yeah.
And I really like what you did. I really like the attention to like the detail about the amount of funding requests and the different actions. Like, I think that's great. I guess what one like perspective I was interested in is and like you might be able to speak to it, is like, it felt like for a while we weren't getting teacher requests very often. And I just wanted to make sure the policy wasn't like making teachers hesitant to ask, like making it, like if they're already not coming to us a lot. I didn't want it to get in the way somehow. And I can't answer that.
I have a record of what was like from the last year compared to this year. So from the last school year of 2022 to 2023, we only got 5 requests for funding throughout the school year. So it was pretty minimal. And that included things like supplies for a class project, 5th grade ambassador items, headphones, very minimal. And so far this school year, we've received 5 requests. So we've already received as many requests this year as we had for the whole duration of last year. So definitely, like, I think there is more interest and more need from staff and teachers and like wanting and needing things in their classrooms and coming to us for them.
Yeah, well, that's good to know. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
I think some of it too, just to add, was needing some clarification between, I guess, staff and admin and PTO on what the school could purchase and what didn't need to go to as a request to PTO. Because I didn't want them, staff or all of us to think that the PTO just has an open wallet and you could go to mom and dad and ask them for money all the time when you could come to your aunt and uncle and ask them for some money because we had some money for whatever project, whatever thing needed to be funded.
Yep.
I think a lot of times it's the urgency of the need because PTO, I don't have a credit card or a checkbook that I can write, I have to order things and wait for that. And so I think that was part of the, I guess, need or is the urgency of some things too.
Yep.
But I think that was the clarification that was needed is like, I have a budget for certain items and you can come to me first. And that's why there's that question.
Yep.
Like we can look to see, yep, do we have the funding for this? Yes, we do. So we don't have to go to PTO to ask for additional money.
Diego, do you think that could be contributing to what last year felt like, not very many requests, that you were getting teachers coming to you and you were able to fund them that way? Or was it just that the teachers were simply not?
I think a little of both. I think a lot of teachers have also moved to Donors Choose. And so they've been able to use that as funding sources. I know I've had, I think 3 teachers already got projects funded through that. And so that's another way of not utilizing just our community's resources, but also the greater resources that are out there.
If I could tag along to what Diego just mentioned, last year, anecdotally, I think I could speak to that. Last year, there were several, Donors Choose was one of them, and there was a couple other where teachers were going to third-party fundraising avenues and making that their exploratory. And versus the year before, I mean, there's certainly much more last year than there were the previous 2 years. And I think, teachers are social people like everybody else. So they talk, say, what did you do? Oh, we tried this out. And so I think there was more trying out that avenue than coming to PTO. And secondly, from a PTO standpoint, we sort of discussed, well, if a teacher is trying that, let's let them explore it. And if it was getting to the end of a project, I think Mr. Maxwell, we had a discussion about this regarding bikes. If it got to the end of a project and it wasn't getting funded, would PTO step in and try to take it across the finish line? And so there was some sense of sort of, we're going to hold back and see how the teachers are doing. And then maybe this is the year that whether they were successful or not, they're discovering PTO is also another foundation. So I think like everything in a volunteer sort of situation, there's a dynamic ebb and flow of where people's interests and knowledge base sort of lie.
Well, I think it's also important to understand, I don't know, this administration. We'll go to Gina there in a moment. I, as a leader and in my professional, personal, all parts of my life, my 2 key values are consistency and equity. And to that extent, any sort of rolling decisions make me uncomfortable. But rolling decisions not being 110% confident that absolutely every teacher knows that they can request and that the pot of money will eventually run out, it also makes me very, very uncomfortable. And so that is definitely part of what Sana and I have been talking about in terms of documenting the process is certainly, we've heard raised already that some PTOs will allocate a certain fixed amount to every teacher. And that certainly makes my, equality heart sing, but that's not necessarily equity either. It does create consistency. So, something to think about here. We have had 2 very large requests, which we will come to in the agenda, which is part also what's had us looking at this going, okay, what do we do now? Gina, I see your hand.
Yeah, just because I don't have a post-it, I think that this conversation has made me think of as a potential priority, just, the sort of holistic support of teachers being a really clear priority for the PTO, both in terms of things like, it's a really, really rough job and trying to like smooth the edges, whether that's with us, financial resources like this or just, appreciation things. But I think that sounds basic, but I think that is a pretty important priority.
That's really helpful, Gina, because honestly, I'm not sure the mission as it's laid out actually covers that. And it does seem to me, based on the way we've operated, that that's definitely a spirit of this PTO. And that might mean we need to, take a look at the mission as well.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
I heard a lot about what's going on. If I can contribute in any type of way, I'll be more than happy to. But this is big to me. This is about y'all. I'm gonna have to step out.
Okay.
I love all of the work that you all do. For support, anything, just let me know.
Okay.
Just
Thanks
my
for coming,
neighbor, let me
Marcus.
know.
Good to see you.
Just let me know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Excellent. Okay.
For subject for proceeding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm curious, is there, where can we find the bylaws as a whole thing? I'm just curious because it's like I've never even seen them before, or even,
Yeah,
I figured
they are
existed somewhere,
online,
but,
aren't they?
Well,
They were, that's right.
they do exist online. It's whether or not, how they're shared.
No, I thought they were on the website.
No, well,
If
I have not
not already online, we will share the bylaws.
that feels like a cool sort of first step, just
Yeah.
for people to know what they are and kind of.
I thought we had actually tracked down that they were hidden somewhere on a public facing website.
Yes.
But that was something that Sana and I were both
I
looking
think that's a
forward to.
vestige of one of the older sites.
But yes, absolutely. The bylaws need to be outward facing, no question, full stop.
Yeah, they will be. I know I found them online before I had access to the drive, but it might be on an old website. Like they had at one point they had an old website. Mel?
Yeah, something that would be super helpful for me when we're talking about changes to the bylaws would be to see like a strike through, like a red line version.
Okay.
Instead of I'm glad that we have like the old and the new, but it's hard then to compare what's changed or what's been added.
Yeah.
So if it's possible, I can even volunteer in Microsoft Word. If you have an old and a new, you can do a compare documents that'll do the markup for you. So I
That
can
would be
help with
great.
that, that'd be helpful.
Would it be okay to get that digitally? Because I do feel like red line printed can be especially.
Oh, yeah, that could be hard, sure.
And comments too, right? I feel like when we're making these sorts of changes, capturing our thinking, our justification is as important as the words themselves, and comments are also, and then you start printing all of that on paper and it's just impossible.
Yeah, but it's kind of a serious thing, changing bylaws, so it would be helpful to have.
Yeah. On that note, I will say, so this is we wanted a working document with added, we didn't necessarily expect that this would be finalized today, but this was kind of the initial proposal. The next meeting, we really need to propose a budget because that kind of tells us how much we can spend. The idea is that there will be a committee to go over the bylaws and put a proposal out to the whole PTO sooner than later, just so that they need to be updated. They're from 2015 and they're not the same. Liz told me we don't do 2 lines of checks. I'm like, it was in the bylaws. So it's not, it's more just to like start the discussion about what makes sense for this PTO now versus, what it was 7 years ago, but also for transparency so that new parents know how it works.
Mel, we love your help with redlining and documenting and all that jazz, so expect a follow-up. Yeah, so I can't even remember if the bylaws have rules in them about how to change the bylaws. I'm confident that they do, but.
It's a simple majority. That's all it says. They have to be submitted and presented, and I think you have to give like a 30-day.
I was gonna say, we need to have like a public comment period. And one of the things that's also really important to recognize is that the PTO itself literally consists of every parent, caregiver, staff, and teacher. Is that right? Did I get it right? We were looking at that. As part of the school. So that really is the key. Now, when we're voting on things, you have to be present. So that's when we're talking majorities of voting, it's people in the room. But it is important to us that we're getting this message out more broadly so that people who aren't here right now are also able to look at red lines or however they like to look at it and comment on changes. Certainly, I expect there to be some public commentary on anything involving numbers, the 250 and the 2,000. Those are usually pretty hot topics. So yeah, like Sana said, we're not motioning that this is voted on today, right?
No.
But we would like to be in the position to request a vote next meeting on these articles.
Mm-hmm.
So please reach out to us, let us know what you need in order to feel comfortable in, assessing this. And we will then also push that out as far as we can to the whole family community.
With the vote on bylaws like these, how will we vote? One by one or as a whole?
That's a good question. There are no rules about that. I imagine that we were gonna vote about this and then hopefully take on. The rest of the bylaws are not that much, like it's only 3 pages. I just took this as a priority because of the spending, like I was concerned about, like we haven't gotten a budget and we've had these 2 large requests. And if last year we like had $8,000 we gave to teachers and we already have, 4,000 this year, I was just concerned about like, we should probably make some rules around finances so that it's equitable.
And when we vote, will we vote on this bylaw?
Yeah.
Vote on that and each one separately is how I think we should.
Yes.
I'd like to see that.
Yes.
Article by article?
Okay.
Or you mean section by section?
However it's.
Section by section,
Yeah.
Okay.
I think if it sounds like your process, you're asking for a process that's gonna culminate in a vote by next month.
Yes.
So I think what ought to happen today is, I think there should be a formal request to put this bylaw committee together and whoever wants to join.
Yeah.
And then this bylaw committee does its redlining and you determine the process by which this is.
It is on the agenda. It's near the end. Maybe we just move it up right now.
Yes. So if anyone is interested in.
Let's make a formal motion. We're making a motion to create a new committee to review and revise and update the bylaws. I will chair said committee and welcome volunteers. Is this motion?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Any nays? Online, thumbs down if you don't agree with the committee. Can anyone who is anyone besides Mel interested in joining the committee?
I'd like to be a part of the finance part.
It's far less formal than it sounds. I don't have time for super formal. Okay, great. Thank you, Liz. And that may be too, that people have different parts of the bylaws that they're interested in participating in the review. But if this isn't solid, great, done. We have a committee.
Just for the sake of clarity, is it the board plus, who makes up the committee apart from Liz and Mel? Who just joined?
Me as chair.
There. All right, thank you.
Liz, do you want to do treasurer's report?
Sure. So, apologies I missed last month's meeting. I'll say my priorities for the PTO are supporting teachers and teacher requests, supporting field trips, which the PTO does a lot of work on, kind of behind the scenes, and school events that build community, and also I'd like to see the PTO do more with their resources, which are considerable. Our main, so we have two accounts, a main PTO account and a field trip account. The main PTO account today's balance is $52,104, and the field trip account is $11,942. As far as this past month, nothing very big was happening. The main PTO account paid for Zoom and snacks totaling $81. And there was a check for t-shirts and yard signs from the open house from Humanity and maybe some miscellaneous cash. Yes, from maybe last year. Yeah, so that was $86. So the field trip account had zero revenue and zero expenditures for the last month. There was a fraudulent check from last summer for $850 that happened in July. So I filled out the paperwork at the bank to investigate that check. And I've opened a new checking account and savings account that I will eventually move the checking account into. I'm going to keep both open for now because we have automatic things going out, in and out. And I don't even have passwords, I think, for all of those things. And I'd like to put the majority of the PTO account into an interest earning savings account, since it could be earning interest, and then it's not as vulnerable to like a fraudulent check. And that's the report.
Thank you, Liz. Those sound like very fiscally responsible decisions. Mandy?
Can I just ask a question? So the lodge donation, is that accounted for as of now, or is that not yet in our account? That's normally like 14?
10.
Is that?
No, we don't have it.
It's, no.
He's
No.
coming though, tonight.
Okay, so that's not in our account yet.
Okay, yeah, that's not, and that's good, because I've been concerned about the field trip account. I don't think it has enough money for the year.
And we had talked about transferring some money from the main account into that field trip account.
I think if the field trip account runs out, that I think the other account should be available to help work with the field trip. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so, yeah, I just wanted to provide some context. The 11,942 is low for a start, but that's because, we learned last year on PTO that purchases were a little higher. Busing was the big expenditure. Because of our part of our status, we weren't getting some of the free reduced lunch status. We weren't getting some of the discounts to some of the field trip vendors that we used. So some of those costs were high. And it was something that we discussed, that we were sort of feeding into the field trip account a little faster than usual. Except, of course, I'd like to call out for the record that usual for us is post-CDD and post-COVID. So I don't think anyone on this board has the pre-COVID usual to sort of refer back to, except for me.
I don't think I was that involved in expenditures back then.
Yeah.
I don't think I can help you.
Yeah. So I think there's that. Yeah, the lodge certainly is a thing. I did want to ask a question regarding the savings and previous PTOs went through the effort of separating two accounts, a field trip account and an operating budget account, so that there was a clear accounting. We knew when we were dipping into the field trip account, which is not the PTOs to approve, it's simply the PTOs to write the checks for. The money goes to field trips regardless, because that's what the donations are for. We just manage it because the school doesn't have an account. But then the operating budget, that's where PTO has yay or nay say. Do we want to spend money on this? Do we want to spend money on that? So if there's if the PTO is moving towards a savings and a checking, would there be a third account specific for field trips and then checking savings for the operating portion of PTO? And I'm asking mostly because I do want to preserve the clear delineation between the field trip account and the operating budget account because policies are different between the two. That's my first question.
Vipal, can you please draft a section for the bylaws that documents that?
Sorry?
That isn't documented anywhere in the bylaws, and it is definitely one of the big confusions of joining the PTO. And so capturing that historical record.
I would be happy to write it in an email to someone who sits on the committee.
Okay. Sounds great.
Yeah, yeah. So that was my question. Is that a possibility or an intentionality? Or maybe it sounds like it's gonna have to pass through bylaws committee before that even occurs.
The field trip account is a separate account, checking account that will stay that way.
Okay.
The PTO account is the account that had the fraudulent check. So that's why I opened the new checking account. We don't have to do a savings account, but we could be earning interest on that money that we have. So those would be PTO main account money, and the field trip account would still be separate.
And then we would approve transfers of amounts from the main account to the field trip account if the field trip account goes low, but the PTO as a general whole says, yes, supporting field trips is part of our mission. So
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think the process of dipping into the operating budget is going to be the same. I don't think it's a matter of transferring. This, of course, this is for this council to yay or nay it. But once the field trip account runs out and the operating budget becomes the primary field trip funding budget, then it's open to the same kind of process of do we approve it or not approve it. I don't, unless there's a motion put forth to literally say we're going to transfer X amount of dollars over and then there's no more approval process on the next amount. So that's, just want to make sure that the behavior is sort of preserved between the two accounts because they have two different missions. The accounts have different missions.
There are a lot of checks that are written, especially at the end of the year for the field trip account and expenses. I wouldn't think we would want to approve every single one. So we might want to choose a dollar amount that we would be willing to spend. The check could still be written from the PTO main account, or it could be transferred. I don't think it matters. And who knows, maybe busing prices will go down. But I don't think that anyone wants the kids to have to go on less field trips.
yeah, I mean, I think if we're talking about cleanliness of accounting keeps those charges coming out of the field trip fund, not pinging to the PTO. But we can look at that as part of our bylaw review. So thank you for bringing that up, Vipal. Anything else, Liz?
That's it. Unless anyone has any questions.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
Can I just add, I think all the things that Vipal said are correct and true about field trips and our free and reduced percentages that are causing us to be charged more for entrance fees, et cetera. Busing charges are higher. And I think last year might have been a change for a lot of folks where we started asking for donations to kind of build up those reserves because everything has gotten more expensive. And so kids don't have to pay to go on a field trip. But that's why we started writing, a suggested donation amount so we could continue to provide all of the field trips and off-site visits that we have been known for here.
Do you have a map, are there transactions to the field trip account capturing those donations? So we, in the spirit of we have to pass a budget next month, it would be helpful for our budget projection to know what kind of shortfall the field trip fund might be facing. So if we can know how much you got donated, is that all in?
Yeah, I think
Liz's
Sue and
accounting?
Liz are keeping track of all
Okay, great.
those numbers.
In the Google Sheets, it would just be called donations.
Right.
And my sort of mental picture of the count is I just know that last year we started the year with more like 18,000 instead of 12,000. And that's why I am thinking we might get low this year.
In context, we started at 18 and then received a check.
Okay,
So
yeah.
we burned through that 10 by about February.
Yeah,
And
so
then
apples and
We were at
apples.
28,
Yeah.
really.
Apples and apples were at 18 and 11. Mel, question?
Oh, yeah, so I'm not following the reference to the free and reduced lunch percentages, but what I'm gathering is that you're saying that we used to have more kids who qualified for free and reduced lunch, and now we have fewer kids who meet that qualification, and that bumps prices up.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's like that sliding fee scale. So like when I first started here, we were 83% free and reduced, and right now we're sitting at like 56.
Okay.
And so it's been, and we had actually dipped down to like 50, 51 a couple of years ago, right after the CBD. And so that significantly increased. Like it went from free to now it's like $3.50 per kid, or it went from $3 per kid to now it's $6 per kid. And so that significantly increased the charges that we were receiving to send our kids outside.
Okay, thanks for.
Yeah.
That's excellent perspective. Thank you, Diego. And that maybe leads nicely into principal, assistant principal.
Okay, great. So there's a lot going on in October. It's an extremely busy month. Trying to find my notes. Today we recognize Indigenous Peoples Day, and so there was a lot of programming in classrooms today to make sure that we were recognizing and building awareness for our students and families, not our families, but our students about the Indigenous people that were the first inhabitants of here in North America, where we sit and this school site sits. And so you ask your kids about the things that they learned, and we have some books that we are going to be using for American Indian Awareness and Involvement Week, which is in November. I think it's the 11th, the 13th through the 16th, 17th. So we have some books that students will be doing. We'll have one of our former, no, he's still here. I forgot he's still here. A father of one of our students will be coming with his dance group again. I think they came last year and presented, so that'll be great for that piece. This Friday, we're finishing Hispanic Heritage Month, which is September 15th through October 15th. And this Friday, we'll have our Heritage Celebration and a breakfast and a family day. So we invite, all are welcome. We're specifically trying to target our Latino families in the celebration, but all are welcome to attend. So that's happening this Friday. Conferences are next week. And so we have a short week with students, just Monday and Tuesday. But Tuesday evening conferences will be from 4 to 8. And then Wednesday, we have conferences from 8 to 4. So there's no school that day. And hopefully your teachers have reached out trying to schedule conferences with you on either Tuesday evening or Wednesday throughout the day. And that's just a great opportunity to connect with your teacher, find out how you can support what's happening in the classroom at home, ask questions, and just check in on the progress and set some goals with your child's teacher. We're offering a flu shot clinic those same days. So Children's Hospital will be here with their mobile flu clinic. It'll be parked right outside on the parking lot. So in the newsletter I sent, there's a QR code that you can schedule an appointment with them. And so they'll be here from 4 to 8 on Tuesday evening and then all day Wednesday. They are not offering COVID boosters at this time, but you can get your family flu shots. I think it's on the agenda for later, but we'll also have the readathon and book fair happening. So that'll be happening here on site also during conferences. October, we have on October 26th, speaking about bylaws and things like that, we have our first site council meeting. So I think I put that in the newsletter also. We'll be doing our State of the Schools presentation, which will look at kind of who we are in place and time right now. And so that would be October 26th. I believe that's a Thursday evening. Same time as PTO, 5:30 to 7. Childcare, interpretation, and a light dinner will be provided. And then I did want to, I think I talked about enrollment at our last PTO meeting. We have cleaned up our enrollment, and students that were assigned to us but never came have been dropped off our rosters. And so we are sitting at 484 students. Which is a really large number compared to what we were funded for. And I know that the district right now is working on staffing adjustments. And so I hope to have some more information around how that impacts our site, hopefully by the end of the week, because they usually do the October 1 shifts. And so I'm anticipating or hoping that we have some additional funding, additional staffing provided, because we're almost 100 kids over our, including high five, it's like 60, but about 100 kids over our projected enrollments.
Do you have an idea what kind of staffing adjustments we might get? Like extra classrooms or like just more support staff?
Yeah, so it's my experience in the past has been usually support staff.
Okay.
Even when we've been, I think, this much over. I think my third or fourth year here, we were about that much over, and we received a couple AE. I don't know if everybody remembers Mr. Moe and Mr. Elmy. They were both staffing adjustment people that we were able to hire in the middle of the year, which turned out fantastic. So I don't know what it will be. I think classrooms would be great, but also I think really hard to find a teacher in the middle of October. That would be disrupting another school or something like that, and then disrupting students who may have already settled in with their current classrooms. I think that's just really hard.
Are there any classrooms that are like bursting at the seams because of this?
Our fourth and fifth grade are pretty large, and a lot larger than I would want them to be. And so my hope is that we can provide, if we do get any sort of staffing adjustment, provide support for our fourth and fifth grade. I think our first grade is pretty big. I think I mentioned all of our grades, I think, are over their projected enrollments right now. And so anywhere could be helpful, but I think our fourth and fifth right now are relatively large.
Thank you.
Just to follow up, Diego, just for the sake of, for the new folks here, could you talk about what site council is?
Yeah, so site council is a group of family members, a group of teachers, admin, that advocates. There's been some blurred lines between PTO and site council, but it's an advisory board to the administrators and to the school. And so we do a lot around our mission and vision. So like similar to kind of what we were talking about here, what are our values, what are our beliefs, creating a mission and vision for Bancroft. We also will be looking at budgets. And so there's a time in the spring when I present the budget to everyone, saying this is the money that we've gotten, these are our enrollment projections. And then we talk about, we talk about it in our leadership teams at school, and then also bring it to the site council to talk about what we should do with our funding. Should we do an advanced learner teacher? Should we have another extra special ed teacher? Should we hire additional support staff if we're able to do that? Or if there's cuts, what are the priorities of families that would lead us to make those decisions if we do have to access or cut folks. I think there'll be a lot around putting surveys together on seeing what the family experience is. I think that's one of my goals this year, is to really get more stakeholder voices into things like conferences, like how were conferences? Did you get what you wanted from your teacher? What are some questions that were unanswered? And so please be on the lookout for a survey that we'll have for conferences next week. Maybe things like, PTO, was this what you expected? Would you attend another PTO meeting? And so looking at some of that data and crafting some of those surveys with families to get all the stakeholder voices. I don't know if there's anything you want to add, Christine, to that? Or?
No, you did great. Community members are also involved, right?
And we also have bylaws, which is one of the big district things that they want us to look at this year also. It's not obviously the most exciting thing, but we do have to have some bylaws and, who's a voting member and who's not. I just want people to come. And so it doesn't really, I think some of those pieces kind of get in the way sometimes, but yeah, so that's kind of what site council is. And I know you've been part of that as well. If there's anything you want to add about.
No, I know there are some new folks here, and I do want to advocate for more participation in site council. In the past, site council has been a policy process, and PTO has been sort of the event, and blurred lines have been blurred lines. But I think there is a lot of important work that occurs in site council, and it'd be great if the membership that attends PTO also attended site, because there was just some good discussion that sort of that occurs, but when there are fewer people, it's not amplified as heavily. And I think that's the thing. That's the big thing about site council, is how to amplify its message and mission so that people sort of see the results of that work. Are you going back to quarterly, or is it going to be trimester?
Quarterly.
Will you be Zooming or Google Meeting?
If you can help us do that.
Okay.
Any other questions or thoughts or concerns or?
Can I ask a question about, virtual teaching? Since I have an unreliable reporter and an 8-year-old, I was kind of confused about Spanish and gym. Like he was making it sound like he goes to gym twice a week and Spanish twice a week, and I was trying to figure out how, I don't even know if that's accurate, but.
It's very well, could be accurate. So this year, Spanish is not a specialist. Spanish is, we've gotten back to a push-in model, and every student, high 5 through 5, gets Spanish 2 days or 2 times a week. And it's about a 20 to 25 minute push-in, and so that's what he might be referring to. And then we have a specialist schedule where every student, they do have a double specialist every quarter. And so that will eventually rotate. So right now, their class might have 2 gyms, but next quarter, they might have 2 medias instead of 2 gyms. So they'll still have gym, they have every specialist. There's just another one that will be a double. And that will rotate every quarter, so everyone will have 1 additional specialist. So there's 4 media, arts, music, and PE, and every kid will have one of those twice. In a week.
In a quarter. Yeah. And
Well,
then
twice a
it'll
week,
change.
so, yep.
And then it'll change, so he'll have art twice a week next quarter and maybe PE once, and it just gets shuffled.
Yeah, it's great.
So that is 90% accurate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pleased that in addition to finding pizza, we found Bob outside. Bob, would you like?
How many people are here that are new to PTO? My name is Bob Sullivan. I'm from Cataract and Sonic Lodge in South Minneapolis. We've been involved with Bancroft School for probably close to 20 years, if not more. We started out here, they had a after-school reading program, and we would come in and work with the kids from kindergarten to 5th grade on their reading skills. Whether we had to read to them or they read to us, didn't make any difference. But they sat here in the media center, actually it was the old media center down in the old school, and we did reading. And then we found out a lot of the kids weren't able to go on the field trips. Whether it be a $2 charge for the field trip or a $1.50 charge for a box lunch for the field trip, their families couldn't afford that. So we said, we're going to change that. We're going to allow every child at Bancroft School to go to field trips. Now, if the kid isn't doing his homework or he's causing problems in school, causing a ruckus in the class, that doesn't count. They still don't get to go on the field trip. But if it's a financial thing, it's all taken care of. So our lodge has, for many years, donated $5,000 to the Bancroft PTO for the field trips. And we go to Minnesota Masonic Charities, which is one of the premier charities in the nation, for a matching grant on that. So it comes out to $10,000 for Bancroft School for the kids. The only thing we ask is, at the end of the year, send some kids to Bancroft to our meeting, and they can tell us about the field trips they went on.
Did we manage to do that last
Yes,
year?
yes.
There's some 5th grade parents here, so we always take our 5th graders.
Yeah, it's always the 5th graders that come.
Experience the most
Excellent.
field trips, and by 5th grade, they should be able to eloquently speak in front of a crowd of people to share all their experiences, because there's a podium and a microphone, and even myself, we have to all get up and share our experiences, and the kids last year did a great job of doing it, so yes.
We also do another program called Bikes for Books. And the kids read books, and they have to read either so many books or so many pages. If they're reading Harry Potter books, versus smaller books. Of course, it's not, they wouldn't be required to read quite so much. They're reading some big tome, and that's probably the only thing that they're gonna read for the year. But at the end of the year, it's determined how many kids read enough, and if they read enough, then we give them a bike, a helmet, and a lock. Last year, we did 25 or 27 bikes.
I think 27.
27 bikes.
Kids were so excited that day.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
So, and they have a choice because some kids, a family lives in a efficiency apartment or a 1-bedroom apartment with a family of 4 or 5. They don't have room to put a bike. So kids have their choice. They can either get a bike or they can get a scooter. It's their choice, not ours. So that's what we do.
Thank you so much.
So I have the 2 checks, the letter, and the only thing I ask is who's going to take care of this? Okay? Fill that card out. Oh, Liz?
Liz filled out, she's the treasurer.
Oh, you're the treasurer.
The treasurer.
So there's your checks.
Thank you. She just wants the money. I can
And
fill out the form.
fill out the card, send that back. That says that you got the money, that I didn't use it for my vacation.
Okay. I can fill it out right now. I can send it, fill it out.
Let's get a photo, and would you like to be in the picture as well? Let's get some new photos going here.
Yeah.
All right. All right, here we are. 1, 2, smile. Got it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Diego.
Thank you, Bob.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. We can find any breaks from you for the pizza.
Robin, do you want to dive into funding or do you want to try to get together?
Trying to wait, like.
Maybe at least wait till the kids are out of the money, like things. Less distracting, less noise. Oh, yeah, I'll send you my number.
Do you hang on a lot? It's cool. It's a collapsible.
Hi, folks. In case it wasn't clear online, we're just pausing to let the kids get through the pizza line.
Hey, Paul, what room are y'all in?
We're in Media Center, or the library.
But text when you get here, because it's locked.
Oh, yeah, the door's locked. The door's locked?
Text when you get here.
It's when you don't want to eat pasta and
There's also
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Amazing. Oh my God.
That was an example. I didn't have a number. But what I did say
I think it's a great idea.
that we should.
I think it's a great idea.
I'm sure they can.
I mean, on field trips for, is, and this is how they do it at Donors Choose, is how many kids it's affecting. Like, is it affecting 25 kids, or is it affecting your, the community, you know? So I think that needs to be.
Well, but it also matters if, like, if we have kids, like the autistic kids, that they need special things, and if it's only 30 kids, that's still worth it because they have.
Absolutely, but I think it should be transparent about the kids that it's going to.
And I think that we should add that to the application. Like, I want the application, we have application, there's not enough information yet.
But I know that, like, that's a big piece of Donors Choose, is the number of kids that it's affecting in the community. So I just think when you guys were talking about that, I was just like, that might be the piece of you know, because I think that, and not even about mine, I'm just talking about like everybody's, because I think it's good. You know, I just think it's a good thing to look at. I mean, if we have a math, if we're doing these math, you know, games and stuff, and it's for 25 kids, great. But if we have this other project and it's, you know, affecting, you know, 100 kids, you know, that's a lot too. So I mean, you just have to kind of, yeah, right, yeah. It's like, you know, yes.
Hey, Sana,
Yeah.
we're outside.
Okay.
I would say I don't. Like, I don't see them so.
Yeah, we got rid of that, his trailer and his. So now he's parking.
Hi, folks online. We're going to be coming back here in a couple minutes. It's show 5.
Show 5, okay, I said high 5.
Yeah, that works too. But it's like,
Show 5. Okay. All right.
All right, I think without further ado.
All right, so a little recap. We've heard a little bit about how funding requests have worked in the past already tonight, which is great. I'll just share, we have a current request form that is like an email link that goes out to teachers. And we haven't even really sent it out yet this year because we've already had some requests come in and we haven't done like a full promotion of it.
Diego sends it out weekly. It's like in a newsletter weekly.
Well, that's great.
That's why you're getting requests.
Perfect. Well, basically what we ask teachers and staff to fill out is, what's the request for? How much is it for? Have you asked your administration about this? As Diego alluded to earlier, it's like, yes, let's make sure that this request should come to the PTO. And then based on when those come into our inbox, we review them maybe over email or in a meeting. And so I'll share that we've already approved 2 requests this year that were smaller in size. One was for 5th grade health education, to have that done in the 5th grade classrooms. And I think that, I'm not gonna remember the exact amount on my top of my head, it was like $200 or $300 total. And then the other request that we've already approved was a spinning wheel that Sue requested for use at things like parent-teacher conferences and other events to have more engagement at a table.
Oh, like a game wheel?
Yeah, game wheel.
Oh, okay.
So that's
the
coming.
other kind of spinning wheel.
Like really
Oh,
that would be amazing. No, it's a different kind of spinning wheel. A little more. Yeah. So I'll talk first about, we've got a handful of requests that are currently active that are like up for review today. One is from Sue about Staff Bulldog Awards. One is from Melissa Lowell about chapter books in Spanish, and one is from Ms. Hartman about a Talk Unity project. So those are 3 active requests. Given our earlier conversation, I know there's discussion about how these requests are approved and how they're spent. So I guess I will share, like, I'm in favor of reviewing these today and seeing if we can approve them. But I know that not everyone might feel that way, given our conversation about how we want to review requests overall. I will say these requests are not just for one classroom. So I think that's a part of our future discussion, is to figure out what difference is there if it's a request for one classroom versus something that applies to the whole school. That might vary then on what funding amount makes sense, right? Like, they're gonna ask for $20 for your classroom, seems pretty reasonable. And if it's bigger and it impacts more kids, I feel like, oh, that could still be reasonable. So I'll share that, and then I think I'll turn it over to Ms. Hartman. Do you want to talk about your request first, and then I can share Melissa's and Sue's?
Okay. Is there a way that I can put this on?
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna put it right now on the.
Oh, you've got the.
I was gonna do it, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, beautiful.
Great, thank you.
So this came about because my kids and I went to my kids at home, and I went to the art fair downtown. And one of the things that we saw is this huge, these chalk art. Well, there was also another woman there that was also making a mandala. And so as I started talking to her, and my own kiddos started to color in and do some different chalk, I just thought it was genius, because some of you may know, I have 4 kids. My younger 2 have special needs. And right away, one of my kiddos, Charlie, and he's real busy and is all over the place. He could not stop using the chalk. He could not stop, he just wanted to keep going. And then my other daughter, who also has some special needs, she too they had this special adapter for her. And so she started doing it too. And anyway, I just was like, this is cool. Like, why can't we do this? And so the more I got to talk to the artist, the more I found out that this is done. She has done this in other schools. And what she does is she works with the PTO, she works with kids, and they create the mandala together and figure out what they want. And then they, okay, perfect. Can you go to the front? Okay.
I've got control, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Okay, so this is what it would look like, or one that she created for another school. And then it's similar to the buddy bench, where kids can, everybody can join in. And so the only part that, well, do you want to go to that? Yeah.
Go ahead and say next.
Next.
All right.
And so again, like she created the world one for another global arts school. And so she works with the school on what they want it to be, and what they want, incorporated, and just things about their community and things about their school that would be relevant. And then she comes for a couple of days. Go ahead. And this is just another example of, this is one of the things that one of my kiddos used. It's a chalk adapter. And so again, she ended up just sitting on the ground and just doing it too. But this was another thing that that I was like, this is genius. Like, why? Like, everybody can do this. And so I thought that was pretty cool.
Might as well stay up here and then I'll just drive.
Okay, go for it. Oh, okay, sorry, one more, back. One of the other things is one of the reasons that her passion has to do with sensory stimulation and with the autism spectrum. Her background is she has an educational background, and she also has a background with working with kids with special needs. And so this is kind of her passion. And so this was another thing that we just kind of connected on. And she just said that it's the way that it's inclusive for all kids is just something that I haven't seen all the time. And so that's why it just kept going around in my mind, and it has for the last couple of months. Uh-huh.
Is it that the mandala itself is like permanent on the ground?
It is. It is. That's exactly what it is. It's a living color book. So what it does is, and it just depends on where you put it, and then how well you take care of it. I mean, if you do a lot of shoveling by it and you do a lot, don't take very good care, it won't last very long. But she said generally it lasts anywhere from 2 to 4 years. It just depends, with the paint that they use. And you can also have her come back and touch it up too, if you want. And she's willing to do that for free. She's just willing to help out with that. Do you want me, should I take questions now, or do you want to do it at the end?
However you want to do it. I'm just raising my hand because I have a pile of questions.
Okay, great. Hold on for 1 sec.
Next.
Yep.
All right.
So like I said, it's the cost itself is for the site visit, creating the mandala itself. And then there's a cost for some chalk, and then the chalk reacher, which is the adapter. And then this is, and that is not what the paint for the project costs. She gets donors to help with that, but then we pay a portion of it and then they pay all the rest. And so she has some donors to help with that. But the cost is $2,300. I know that's a lot of money, but that would include everything. It would include, making it, painting it, and then it would be there outside. And I mean, when you see some of these pictures, do you want to go to the next one? Yep. I mean, we're not talking about just a couple of kids at a time. I mean, we're talking about lots and lots of kids can do this at the same time. Because they're really big. Okay,
Next one, or?
Yep.
Okay.
okay. But, and you can see all of these are all different because they're created just for the unique space or for that school. Okay, and I do totally understand because this is such a large amount of money. If we need to wait on this, if this is a thing that we need to wait on, I get that. But she is available to do it. And, it could potentially be done rather quickly. And then the kids could start enjoying it. So.
There is a Michelle question online, and then I think you have a question, so you can go whatever order you'd like.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Hartman. I think that it seems very worthwhile to discuss it while you're here. But I am going to go on record as saying I'm really uncomfortable with the idea of voting on this until we have actually talked about our policy. Oh,
you mean before you redo the policy?
Before we finish the bylaw. This is the biggest expenditure, one of the biggest expenditures I've seen in my limited 18 months or whatever with the PTO. So I guess my question, then we'll go to Michelle, is that you mentioned that you likened it to a buddy bench. And my understanding of buddy benches is that it's a place where a child can go sit if they want a buddy or need a hug or something. And this does not scream that to me. This screams community engagement and all the things that having a big coloring book on the ground does. So can you explain that analogy a little bit more?
And it's an analogy that she uses all the time because again, there's an entry point for all kids. And that's what she's talking about there's so many different entry points and so many places that kids can feel comfortable, whether they're really intricate designs or really, pretty simple designs. And so that's why, again, we're that buddy bench. So it's just an entry point for all kids. And the other thing is, as they're creating, kids naturally talk. Kids naturally start to, so again, for some of the kiddos that, maybe, it's just another way to bring kids into another activity on the playground.
It seems like it might be something like that, might suggest that the kids having a hard time.
So that's another thing is that a lot of times they'll take kids outside that need a little bit of time to do this, that need some time to just cool down or, and so it just kind of becomes, and that's where that, whether they're on autism spectrum or whether they just have, some other social needs, it's a nice way for them to just kind of calm down and,
Okay. Thank you. Michelle?
Hi, sorry, my video is off because I'm really sick. I will say I totally understand waiting and while we're figuring out our policy. As the parent of an autistic kid who often doesn't know what to do with herself at recess, I love this idea because I love the idea of giving kids something to do at recess that isn't social and something to do at recess that maybe isn't so physical. One thing, so my questions are, one, where were you envisioning it would go? Because I'm worried about kids coloring getting knocked over by other kids who are playing, and where would it be a reasonable place for it to go? And then my other question was, while we're sort of figuring out if this is an expenditure we can undertake in the logistics of it, it seems like the chalk and the chalk reacher are pretty low cost. Would it make sense to have some sidewalk chalk available for kids at recess just to see what they gravitate towards and to have that be something that's available to them before it snows and they can't really, harder to do.
I guess I'll build on the where did you envision it, and I'm looking at the administration going, what do you think?
We haven't figured that out. We haven't talked about that, I think we need to. I would like her to come too, and if this is something that we're really interested in, I would have her come and we would talk about best spaces and along with the engineer too. Because there's areas where water comes through and those are areas that, you know, when it snows and I mean, those are, and that would, it could potentially, you know, damage the paint and stuff. So we'd want to find good spots.
I mean, I feel like though, like we would need administrative approval before I would even be comfortable bringing this forward for a vote. Why vote on funding something that admin's like, no, you can't do that. So that's.
Yeah, I would give approval.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know we've got, is this a district approval process though that might get hung up?
It's possible.
So where I'm going with it is there has been an effort to do public art at our school that has been hung up at the district level. And it's certainly something that I feel like ought to be funded because we have wanted to fund a public art thing. I think the challenge is the district before we even get into things like location and execution process. Is there this is this year's version. Where is the process going for a district district input or district feedback?
Yeah, it would be a similar process in submitting a small capital improvement request and working with facilities to see if we can paint something on the blacktop. It's very different, in my opinion, that it's not going on the building. I think there's a whole policy on murals and other public art that's on the actual building itself, not necessarily just on the blacktop. And so that's where I would push that piece.
Liz? And then,
oh, I just have a really quick thought based on that. Has this artist done a mandala at other Minneapolis school?
No.
Like, has the district?
It's all been, and that's where, again, I get really, you get a little feisty about that, you know, here in the city, you know, we have these amazing artists, we have all these, but it's like, you know, it's like, why is this happening in Roseville and why is this happening in all these other cities? Why can't we do this? So whenever anybody says, well, you can't, I'm like, yes. We can try, we can figure this
If
out.
the artist had already done all that paperwork with the district.
She has not.
it's easier, but-
Yeah, she has not. She has done it in, you know, she's done it in a number of other, Monticello, a lot of other suburban schools, not in Minneapolis.
I know there were some other hand raises, but I recognize we only have 3 minutes left, and I think we might not be able to solve for this one today. It sounds like we need to find out some more information from the district and kind of follow up on next steps after today's meeting. So I propose that I share the other requests from Melissa Lowell. I know she wasn't able to be here. She's one of the new ELL teachers. Is that okay if I move forward with that? Yep, seeing some head nods, cool.
Oh, could I just ask one question though?
Yeah.
Were you thinking for spring? Is that kind of the timeline you were thinking? So you would have time?
No,
to
I'm never
do
thinking like that far away. I'm always, I'm never thinking, well, I mean, if it can help kids, let's get it going now. I mean, that's my
Yes.
thing. Like, let's not wait. That's.
Spring kind of makes sense if the snow can lessen it, like you might as well start fresh in the spring. Plus all this other stuff. I love it. My elementary school had a United States map on the ground that we would, that we would color like that. And I can totally see my kids benefiting from this.
Right.
Before we move on, one.
Yes, yep.
5 seconds. Just for a little context on spending, we did spend $2,600 on headphones last year and $2,200 on t-shirts. So we do spend this amount of money. I like that instead of a mural, which is just, it's there, like the kids can participate. And it's also a very visible thing that if the PTO does want to ask for money, like, oh, well, what does the PTO do? Instead of just saying, well, snacks, we're like, this big mandala. So
this
very
also
visible.
seems like a good opportunity for co-funding. Have you tried? Seems like people out there would be happy to be like, yeah.
Probably, and again, I'm just gonna go back to, I mean, you know, like just making proposals and do it. I mean, this is all in addition to our regular school day. So, I mean, I've done tons of grants, but not right now.
No, totally.
All right.
Yes, we want to make it, I mean, I think that's, as a collective, we've talked about, like, we want to make things easy for the teachers and not add more burden and work and process into what we're doing with all of you.
My last question for the long term is, what do the kids think? So I'll, like, have we asked the kids if they want this? But I do think we need to talk about the books.
Or does I mean, should we,
I move that we move on, we table this discussion until bylaws discussion and district input is my motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a vote? Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. All in favor? Aye.
All right,
Great.
and so then Robin, the floor is yours.
I'll oppose to that one. Sorry. I would have liked to move forward on that. Okay, so the next one from the Spanish, is about Spanish books. And these are chapter books in Spanish and the request is from.
I'll just say no,
Okay,
because,
It's library, isn't it?
well, yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Just gonna
Great.
say no.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Diego.
okay, then I will move to the next one. Staff Bulldog Awards.
Let me jump on that one. That one got approved last year, the Bulldogs. It just never got.
No, that's not these.
That's not what this is. It's
Oh, okay.
the same thing.
I was hoping it'd be an easy win. No.
It's never an easy win.
Just, will they get some chapter books in Spanish?
Yes.
Okay, great.
I know we're at time, so I'm gonna respect everyone's time.
I will say no to the Bulldog ones too. Like, we can use, cheap funding for that.
Okay, then can we go back and I think that's.
We just saved all that money, that's.
Right, like,
For a matter of context,
Yard
what
signs are-
Diego's getting at is that there is other funding possibilities.
right,
that-
yeah,
so
just,
that's
yeah, he's not
context.
saying no to, yeah,
Yeah,
no.
yeah, I got it.
But I think,
Um,
and I get that.
If we're
Go
close
ahead.
to closing the
Thank you.
meeting,
No, I appreciate that.
excuse me, yeah, sorry, if we're close to closing the meeting, I know this is okay, I don't know for what topic, like, if we have guests, can we prioritize them?
Yes.
It is the parent
Yes.
teacher organization.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was under the impression that we were here to possibly get a bike, station for, repairs, to have, since we're talking about safe routes to school, and if we wanted to, like, and Paul asked me if there's a chance that I would use that as a curriculum or like, bike repairs, for the bike safety units that I do, whether it's in the fall or in the spring. And I would just like to say that, yes, I mean, we really could use that little stand and the pump and the tools that are standing out there. That would be a great asset and a big, a great thing for my classroom to have one of those park tool stand pumps, bike stand things. And since we're so close to the, another bike path, I think, it could be one of those things that we could add to the PTO. But then also there might be side places that do offer funding for that too. So I don't know.
So I think this is a Kate.
That is, this is, Ms. Mackel's visit was related to the safe routes to school,
Right.
primarily for the events that we've got. And it does have funding, we just need to make it happen.
And then, Friday, and then on Wednesday, we are having an event from Powderhorn Park to school, where this one kind of came really fast at the beginning of the year, and we've always done it at the beginning of the year, but we're also gonna try to do another one in the summer when it's a little bit less hectic, because October is so hard to get everything done. We're kind of jamming it in there on Wednesday, and I'd love to see y'all there in the morning if you can, appreciate it, but again, we'll have another one. We'll try to do the same thing in the spring.
And for sake of clarity, what that is 8:15, meet at Powderhorn Rec Center, and we work, bicyclists can come down, walkers can come down,
Yes.
or folks who are busing will have an opportunity to do a walk. So there's an entire event built in the morning of Wednesday.
I have
Mr.
some
Maxwell's
MnDOT things, bookmarkers and some things that I'll hand out, stickers and whatnot to walk, bike fun. And actually the day of that was last Wednesday, but I used a little extra time to get it taken care of.
Do you need more adults there?
It doesn't
or
seem
are
like I've put out a form to sign up for some people to go. I don't think, looks like there's gonna be plenty of adults, but yeah, by all means, if you can go, I'd appreciate PTO to support that and be there if you can. That'd be great.
That was part of today's reach, was to ask for PTO, folks who came to the PTO meeting, if they're interested in taking on a role wearing a vest, or just bringing their kid's bike. The other ask of PTO is whether, I will be tabling at the Powderhorn to talk about safe routes to school stuff that we have programmed, and if PTO had any other messaging separate from Safe Routes to School that they wanted to prioritize to get out in front. For example, readathon is a perfect one, just talking to
I
people. about
cannot
readathon.
attend that.
No, but I am. So my question to PTO is what messaging does PTO want?
Right.
In addition to the Safe Routes to
We'll
School
connect
stuff
with
that
me
we're doing.
later post.
So that was part of the ask. And then the other one related to is, and you haven't heard this one yet because this is new for you, but October, at Tuesday's conference event, while we've got book fair outside, I was able to find a Angry Catfish is willing to come and do some bike safety information tabling. So that
Okay.
they'll have stuff to talk with families that are hanging out, they're waiting for conferences, no cash, we're good, so we don't have to worry about expenditure. But there is a budget impact in the spring once we get expenditure. So that would have been a whole exciting discussion. But the point is that we do have some Safe Routes to School programming that's related to what Mr. Maxwell's doing, which is the main reason why he was here, is because he's got this program that's sort of kicking off here. And I think it's been great that he was able to kick off with the bike unit in the fall, which
Yeah,
usually
it's
is not a
huge,
fall thing.
especially with us giving kids bikes.
Yeah.
We cannot do that unless kids know how to ride bikes, unless we know safety. And I mean, so this is, I mean, he's, you know, yeah, you've worked right alongside all of us with these programs, so it's super important.
Great.
That was the length and the breadth.
Is there anything else on Safe Routes before we?
Kate, is there anything else safe route?
I have been working with MnDOT and Diego. We're trying to figure out some insurance before we can sign the contract. So we have to be covered. I've met with our counterpart at Minneapolis Public Schools, Jenny Borden, so we're working that out. Mr. Maxwell, we've got your budget. So I'm gonna tap you when we're selecting a station. You're gonna be the guy who selects.
Nice,
Yeah.
good.
So we'll make sure we have something that works for you, and then of course we'll circle to admin for the install.
Perfect.
We'll hope to have a signed contract this month.
Nice.
That's awesome.
And as a matter of context, we can't expend until we get the contract signed. And we have been, this is for the record, I know Canada's still taking notes. Kate has met all the deadlines asked of us. It's the other parties that seem to be holding us back. I just want to point that out.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kate.
Is there anything else we want to cover? Like, I know we're over time, but.
I think we
Are
should
done?
approve the bank, I think we should approve the yard signs, that's a pass-through, don't you ask for a donation?
Well, so I suggest a donation, but I do not believe it's a moneymaker, and that is not my goal. My goal is for Bancroft community spirit to just be out there in the community. So we asked for a suggested $10 donation. The ones I priced, like Vistaprint, seems pretty reasonable. If we order 50, it's $8 a sign. If we order 100, it's $4 a sign. So like, order 100. I would like to update the design, so people might feel like, oh, I want the new one.
Yeah.
And so it'd be about, I don't know, $400 or $500. I don't think we really make money. I freely give them out because I just want people to have community pride.
And we're out.
We are out. I have been aggressively trying to get them out of the PTO closet and get them into the hands of people. And so I managed to give all of them or sell all of them at the back to school night.
Gotcha.
And as a matter of context, our last investment in signs was 2019. So we are due for.
Yeah, they were
investment
in there a
signs.
long time and I was just like, this is my project now.
So basically what you're saying is if we had a properly approved budget, there would already be a line item for yard signs.
Well, no, I don't know. I'm not making that inference. What I'm making is that we haven't had this
I
expenditure
can
on our
put
budget.
together like an actual cost, whatever, and get that to you at a later date.
Okay. I mean, I guess the question is.
Because it's not really yard
do we
sign
want-
season right now anyway, so
Okay.
soon will
All
not
right.
be.
Then we can table it for a vote next month, or it'll be part of the budget. You'll see when Sana and I draft a budget and put forward, our goal is to not only increase transparency, but reduce the burden of decision-making. And so to, codify as line items as many regular expenditures as we can. So.
I can take 30 seconds to do the readathon update, but it is happening next week, so I do want to just speak to it quickly. Readathon is great, so we may not have the envelopes going home on Thursday, I'm informed. So yeah, whatever, it's fine. I'm sure we'll get them by Monday. Book fair happens Tuesday and Wednesday during conferences. I would love to have volunteers. There's a link in the email that hopefully you all received this morning about book fair and readathon, see me in person if you want to chat. There's lots of different shifts. I will be there the entire time to support. And that's about it.
Do you need help tallying readathon at the end? Or
We will, but like literally don't even think about it right now.
Okay.
We're done. Adjourned. Thank you for coming. Yes. Yay. And if
Thank you,
there's
everybody, for
any
coming.
thoughts, concerns that weren't able to be addressed, please feel free. There's an email address on the sheet at the back. Our PTO.
Oh my God, I'm so glad to hear that. Is it still in the water bottle?
Oh, no,
That's nice. That's awesome. I'm looking